we here at Let's Go Warriors have yet another vidcast for you. And this one, as always, is special. But this one is extra special because not only do you have your host, myself, Daniel Hardy, and my good buddy and co-host, W-Dub-Dubs. Triple D, how you doing, bro?
I'm hanging in there, you know? You ever seen that Tom Cruise movie where he keeps getting killed, but he, has good attitude about it?
Whoa, spoiler alert, bro. Wow. Are you feeling like Tom Cruise dying over and over again?
It's tough out there in the quarantine. I'm not going to lie.
Well, that's why we're here. We're here together, and we brought someone who's specifically going to give you therapy for what you're going through. His name is Evan Zamir. He's known for developing the basketball data resource NBA Wowie, where his advanced stats for dummies was front and center. Evan Z, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. Hanging in there as well. Happy to talk some Warriors.
Hey, thank you, man, for showing the way and giving, eyeball guys like myself the light. In those days, advanced stats wasn't huge for the average fan. So you were one of the pioneers for bringing that to us Neanderthals. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, that was something that was new to me. I actually was a big Monta fan. I would say during the We Believe era. But then partly through Golden State of Mind, actually, I think there were some other guys back then that were into the stats. And I think it was actually one of those rare occasions where they persuaded me to sort of see it a different way. And it sounds like you had, somewhat similar experience. And I think that's a great thing when that happens, when you kind of change your worldview. And that was an example where it literally I changed from being a huge Monta fan to being skeptical and just, realizing that he wasn't the, wasn't the future basically and you kind of needed to look at the analytics to understand that, I think, at least partly.
Now, W-Dub-Dubs, where were you at that time when the Monta Steph train? So we know how to judge you.
I think I was right along there for the ride with Evan. I really loved Monta, guys. I got to be honest. Those days of going to the cheap $20 games, they're giving out hot dogs and asking you to bring friends.
Family 4-pack.
And for me, the Golden State of Mind experience was pretty big back then. But, it always seemed like no matter how, quote unquote, good Monta played, the team was always crap. So as a sort of numbers guy in my real life, I was really susceptible to diving into the numbers side of things, but it took some adjustment, man. It took some adjustment, but I was thoroughly convinced.
I was actually there. I was actually there the night of the booing of Joe Lacob.
Oh,
at that game, when they were hanging. I think they were retiring Mullins' jersey, right? And it was insane. Just everybody was booing Lacob, and I left the arena thinking these people are crazy. They have no idea that the team just got a lot better. And that to me is sort of the demarcation of the entire era, was that night.
Well, totally. I'm converted. Look at my shirt, man. Super Splash Pros. Monta ain't this at all. I wish he was. We got Monta right in the back.
I always thought that the booing wasn't just about trading Monta. It was, when Lacob came in, he was very vocally taking the media tours, telling everybody at a very high volume that Monta Ellis wasn't going anywhere, which, makes me really dubious about any claims coming out of the front office, all those draft rumors and the leaks. I don't trust them.
I guess now we're wrapping up an unprecedented basketball season. And we have a new champion. The Los Angeles Lakers did what no one thought they'd get. Okay, everyone kind of thought they were going to win the championship. But Bron's back on top, King James. And what are your final thoughts on that whole bubble process?
One, props to the league for pulling it off. I nobody got COVID, right? That's amazing. I don't think we should definitely give them props for that, because I thought for sure that it was in Florida, and how are they going to do this? It was entertaining. One thing being on the West Coast that sucks is that the games were all day long, and you got to work. So So I definitely did watch quite a bit during work hours, which maybe wasn't the best thing, but yeah, just a ton of surprises. I mean, I was shocked. I don't know. People say that like maybe they weren't shocked by the Bucks losing, but like that shocked me. I have no idea what's going to happen to that team. Honestly, like it stunned me.
Oh, you were stunned, huh? That's crazy. Because if you just go on LetsGoWarriors.com, you've seen that W, and I actually predicted that the Bucks were going to lose that.
Did you really?
I did. He kind of was like, I don't know, but I definitely did. Only because I felt like, Giannis, what's the word here? His game isn't fully cooked yet. I would say that.
I guess, yeah. I mean, maybe there's some other level he needs to reach in the playoffs or something like that.
Having a jump shot would help.
The shooting, yeah. I mean,
he's still a really young player.
we ignore the
shocked.
shooting until it's like the playoffs, and then it's always a big deal. But LeBron gets away with mediocre shooting, but I guess he's LeBron and he has Anthony Davis.
So you're telling me Giannis needs to develop a shoulder charge move?
I mean, I'm not. I'm into the Warriors and I watch a lot of college basketball. So like my opinions on these teams are pretty shallow. Like I like the entertainment value of the playoffs this year. The Celtic Heat was super fun, I thought. Denver was just super fun to watch the whole time. The Clippers, it's a bit surprising. I mean, they kind of blew it. And LeBron is LeBron. So we're going to have to deal with it next year.
At what hey, Evan, at what point in the playoffs did you first realize that LeBron was going to win it?
I wouldn't say he kind of if someone put this stat up like a couple weeks ago of one of these like pip 'em or wrap 'em or one of those things, and it was like regular season versus the first couple rounds, and you saw AD and LeBron just they're just starting to kill it, right? So for years we're like, these guys are coasting, and then they turn it on, and yeah, he kind of did it again. I mean, he was good. Obviously, he was amazing during the regular season, but he just he has another level, and what are you going to do? It's LeBron. He's
it's kind of scary that he was coasting and led the league in assists.
There's a lot of scary stuff about that.
so right now the hot topic is LeBron as GOAT, greatest of all time. Very curious. How are you feeling about that conversation? Where are your thoughts on that?
So I flipped it around. I tweeted of this poll the other day, which was I think maybe a little bit different spin, which is if you were drafting these guys today, who would you take? And if I look at it through that lens, today I feel like I'd probably draft LeBron, and I think that's what most people would do. I'm of an age where I grew up with MJ, and so it's sort of if you ask me the best quarterback of all time, I'm going to say Joe Montana. Until I die, nobody's ever going to be able to convince me Brady stats, Mahomes, whatever. I don't really care. I don't know these guys as well. So they're 1 and 2 in some order, and I don't have a dog in the fight. I pick a guy, and they're going to be great.
Well, I just wrote about the LeBron GOAT debate. I normally don't really. I'm sort of like Evan, where just put him up in the tiers more, and that's fine with me. I'm not really too concerned about ordering people that are among the greatest of all time where you want to stack all that, because when I was growing up watching Michael Jordan, all the old timers, and I think still to this day, guys like Jim Barnett will still tell you Will was better. So I understand that these guys are all playing in a different time, different eras. Everything's different, so it's not really a fair comparison. But my opinion is still going to sit with Jordan, just because he ran through the league in a way that LeBron really hasn't done. So it really has to come down to personal preference. And for me, I'm still putting Jordan on top But just like with the Joe Montana thing, like I'm just kind of riding with that guy. Like I get the argument, and I'm not going to freak out if someone's like, "No, you're wrong," because it's just my opinion. But I do still have Jordan up ahead of him.
Fair. I guess the thing that we can all take away from that is that we all saw Space Jam. And once you see that movie, it's hard to disagree with that. Okay, so
wait, and LeBron is remaking it.
Oh gosh,
I have to be honest. I don't think I've ever seen Space Jam.
Whoa.
Yeah, I probably should, but it's just at this point, it's like people who haven't seen Star Wars. Like, are you gonna? You have to see it.
We just got a big scoop right now, folks. Everyone has never seen Space Jam.
Yeah.
Do you know Bugs Bunny was in it?
Forced it on you yet?
I mean, I saw Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Wow. Okay. On that note, sorry, LeBron, we're moving on. Okay. So obviously for Dub Nation, the biggest thing on everyone's mind is how good is Kevon Looney looking? Okay. Not really, but it's in there. The biggest thing on everyone's mind is what we're going to do with this number 2 draft pick. Now, we've been talking to some heavy hitters about this. They've dropped the knowledge on us, changed my mind a couple of times back and forth. I don't know who I want to get right now. But one of the things that's coming up, Obi Toppin, his name is really, really getting some steam around Dub Nation recently. I've also heard some David Lee comparisons, some Blake Griffin comparisons, which a lot of fans are like, I don't know about that for number 2 pick. How do you feel about Obi Toppin?
I mean, I made those comparisons, but I think if you could get Blake Griffin with a number 2 pick, I would pick Blake Griffin. Like he's not Blake Griffin. So if people don't like the Blake Griffin comp because they don't like Blake Griffin, that's a bad opinion in my mind.
That's a you problem.
Like if you could get Brandon Rush in the top 10 of this draft, I like that'd be a win. Like it's a pretty bad draft. So I've made some of the David Lee comparisons. I think especially earlier in his career, Lee was, he was actually pretty explosive. In college, he won some dunk contests, and obviously he lost, some of that vertical explosion. Lee could handle the ball, I think, obviously, and he was a great passer. Very smart guy, right? But as we all know as Warriors fans, like his flaw was defense, right? He was just slow-footed, just not a good defender, not a rim protector. So what position, you were going to play him at was always a question, right? It'd be more of a question now. Is he a 4? Is he a 5? So like, to me, Obi has a lot of those same questions. I think his passing is underrated, which is why the Lee, Griffin comp is sort of fair. Even Larry Nance is another guy that I would throw into that mold, who's gotten actually pretty good. Like his passing is actually pretty good. John Collins is another one in that archetype. So like in that, that's the sort of archetype that it's hard to see him. He's somewhere in that range, I think, for sure. Mm-hmm. It's in some ways what I call it a trap archetype, because
not that kind of trap, Daniel.
It's a little.
Never mind.
So we may talk about this later. It's a little bit like Pascal or like Antoine Jameson, right? In the past, where they're guys who they look good on paper. They score. I think he's going to have a ton of highlight dunks, but he's going to give up a lot on the other end. The rim protection, like for a guy who's as explosive as he is not really a strength. He's kind of slow-footed and just like really upright. I'm not like a biomechanics, expert, but I do believe the stiffness, the hip stiffness that people talk about, just like very slow to turn. I think he's going to have very similar issues to Blake and Lee on defense. So the question is like, maybe he's a little bit like those guys. Maybe he's a little bit like John Collins with hopefully that level of shooting. Collins has actually become quite a good shooter. I think he's a better playmaker, passer than John Collins. But defensively, is he going to be better? Like, and what do? Do you build around? Like, is Atlanta going to build around John Collins? That's going to be a huge question for them.
Right.
And we'd have the same question. So do we care about that right now if we build around Obi? Maybe that's not important. But, when you get to the playoffs, that's a real question. Where are you going to play him? You know, are you going to play Draymond at the 5 and him at the 4, or vice versa? Maybe he gives you enough on offense that makes sense. A couple other things I'd say that scare me about him a little bit. He's old. He's 22. I think he'd be 23 when the season either started or ended. He's
Dang, that's old now. Oh,
he's old.
Shoot.
So I mean,
what am I?
Well, he's old for a rookie, right? Like if you're picking the guy number 2, Anthony Edwards is just turned 19. You know, Lamelo just turned 19. Pokashevsky hasn't even turned 19 yet. So, you know, if you're taking a guy who's 22 with the second pick, I'm not a fan of them taking him there. Now, having said that, if we trade down, there's other guys I would target, but I'd be less, you know, I wouldn't be as against it if we got him at, say, 8, you know, 10, 12, something like that.
Well, I guess my question on that vein is this. If the Warriors are in a win now mode because we got, you know, 3 all-stars and 4 max guys basically, and they're trying to win as fast as possible, do you say, well, we don't really care as much about his age because we're trying to maximize the prime window for the Splash Bros and Draymond?
I think that if you're trying to win now, then you have to trade that pick. Like if that's the goal that you absolutely are trying to win now, then don't make that pick. Or trade down it and pick him. I should say, like, he's not Brandon Clark, where he's going to come in and be like a instantaneously good, you know, defender. And so the question is, how good is he going to be in his rookie year? I think his shooting is maybe overstated a little bit. Like, I think he definitely could be a decent shooter, but like the sample size is pretty small. The free throw percentage isn't amazing. I think it was like 70%. So there's a lot of things people are counting on that may not pan out. So if that's your safe pick and it doesn't work, like it's gonna be bad.
Well, and I've seen some stuff that says free throw percentage is highly correlated to their eventual promise. Like looking at a guy.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, I definitely, like, when I look at players, you should not just look at 3-point percentage. You should look at their 3-point percentage, how many 3-pointers they take. You know, if they take 50 threes in 30 games, you know, it's a super small sample size, and it also means their coach doesn't have a lot of faith in their shot, right? Like, you'd be shooting more. And then if you have a guy who shoots 40% on threes, but like 65% from the free throw line, you know, very often that's like not a good sign. There are some
Bruce
guys.
Bowen.
There are a few guys. Trevor Ariza, you know, became a good shooter. Like, there are guys who have become good shooters, but it's rare. And so you know, it's like, it's not that I say never say never, but like, you have to be careful.
So then, I guess Debbie Davis, maybe you can help us.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, just to sort of go back to it, to clearly attribute the simile there. It was Evan was the one that wrote about or talked about the David Lee Obi Toppin comparison in his article on The Athletic with Sherwood Strauss. And to me, you know, Evan, and this is kind of what I wanted to bring you on to talk about, is that, you know, Patrick Morey, who was a guest on here earlier, he writes for Forbes. He used to be with GSOM and wrote with us. He looked into it and decided that Obi Toppin was like his guy. He said, if you're going to use your number pick, I would use it on Obi Toppin, and I've watched a lot of film, and here's why. It was pretty compelling. But my big question was, like, did you watch that much film on everybody else? Now, I know that you have done a lot of, like, numbers. And
Wait. If that was your big question, how come you didn't ask me to be on our podcast?
I did ask him. He did not watch as much film on everybody else. But I didn't want to throw him under the bus, Daniel.
sorry, everybody, right.
But so the issue, Evan, this is what I wanted to talk to you about, is like, is Obi Toppin your comfortable pick at number 2, or is there anyone at number 2, based on everything that you sort of know, that you would feel comfortable taking at that slot?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we stay there, to me, it has to be Melo or Anthony Edwards.
Oh, whoa. You'll go small on him. You're going small on him.
No, I just think that those are the just the combination of things. So I understand that the win now, like I said, if it's win now, I would trade. I'm hoping the Knicks want Melo, and if they swap picks and give us their 2021 pick, I'd be all over that, right? There's other, things I would wish for, like if Boston wants to trade Marcus Smart to move up to number 2, that's a trade. So there are trades, hypothetical. Maybe there's a Drew Holiday trade, but yeah, I think you have to. So part of it is of course everybody like has their own eyes and they do their own stats or whatever, and even if you do watch every game, which obviously, like, I don't watch every game, and I don't have time to watch 100. Even if you watch every prospect, there's like 100 prospects who will be drafted or undrafted free agents, right? So you're talking to watch everybody once. That's 100 games. That's a ton of time, let alone watch guys many times. So, like I could be wrong, obviously. Like I could just be flat out wrong. And maybe somebody who watches a guy more just like calls it, right? I mean, that's fine. In my opinion, the guys that I would go with at the top are the most skilled, talented guys that stand out in a kind of mediocre draft. And it's sort of the value proposition. I get the winning now argument. But look at the Spurs. They were winning for 20 years and they kept drafting, especially when you get such a high pick. This is like a very rare opportunity. Look at the Sixers. They got Tatum. Like they made a smart call, right? They could have done a win now, trade or whatever. But maybe you look in 2 to 3 years and be like, man, that was amazing. Like we got Edwards or Melo and they're awesome. Now, maybe you don't think that. I don't think Toppin's that guy personally. So I wouldn't pick Toppin at like my rationale wouldn't be we need to pick Toppin because he's the best win now guy.
Ooh, I cannot wait to splice this right after Patrick's thing and we're like, vote for who you think is right.
Just for me, but maybe it'll work out and I'm wrong. I could easily be wrong. I'm just saying, like my opinions are free and that's probably what they're worth. Take it.
Okay, well, man, we brought you on here to talk.
Yeah, for sure. And we appreciate it because I've watched like 0 college games, so I'm relying on your expertise.
I will tell you this last year, I did like Jacob Evans. He wouldn't have been my pick because I would have picked like Bol, or there were actually a bunch of guys I had higher, but I didn't think Jacob Evans would. No, this was like 2 years ago, right? I guess. Yeah. I didn't think he'd be. I didn't think he'd be that bad.
Well, to be fair, like you're not unique in that. Like nobody really panned that pick. It was like, well, this is like a safe pick at that position. And I think anybody who really knows basketball understands that when you're picking that low in the draft, it's a crapshoot. You're lucky to find somebody who even sticks in the league, much less plays rotation minutes.
Right. So there's way less riding on that pick. But they do need to if we want to prolong whatever this dynasty is, they do need to hit on this pick and the pick next year somehow. Either trade those 2 picks for a superstar, or nail those picks. If you have 2 top 5, top 10 picks, like we're gonna need to nail them to keep winning.
For sure. I think additional part of that obviously is going to be who the Warriors decide to get with that trade exception and also with that MLE exception. So this is where I'm particularly interested in your opinion here, because Dubs and I and the gang have been talking a lot about like who can we get, who's a free agent, who can we trade for. When it comes to like checking out the deep advanced stats, okay, who are you looking at and being like, they can come up with something nice here?
I'm not that deep, but I did give a cursory look to some free agents. So here's 4 guys I will say that maybe we should check out. So Michael Kidd-Gilchrist is a free agent.
Okay, you know what? This interview's over. Thank you. We had a great time.
Thanks for coming on.
Good night, everybody. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, explain this, sir. Explain this, please.
Don't laugh. I mean, he can't shoot. He still can't shoot. But he's a long, athletic guy who can defend. He's got a motor. Like, at some point, somebody needs to teach him how to shoot. And if you can get him for $3 million or something like that, it's something to look at because he's still relatively young. And if you talk about length and all that, like unlike Wiggins, his problem isn't effort, right? It's just
no, you didn't. No, you didn't, sir. No, you did not.
So, no, I'm not saying to get these guys. I'm just saying these are a few guys that I'd look at.
It's hard to give effort in Minnesota. It's cold. Come on, man.
So another one that's way off the radar is DJ Augustine. The guy's been in the league forever, and like he's still kind of killing it, like shooting and stuff. So I'm not a huge backup point guard guy, but like if you look at Dallas and some of these other teams, like how they go small and have a bunch of guards out there, he's not going to be playing 30 minutes a game, but that might be a really flexible guy to have in some lineups for offense. Another one is Wes Matthews. Like maybe he comes on a vet min. I don't know, like what he's looking for, but that's a guy who, like, if he's interested. Another guy a little bit in the same boat as MKG is Chris Dunn, who's a free agent.
I've had my eye on Chris Dunn for quite some time. I like him.
Yeah. So still, he was sort of old even when he came to the league, but relatively young. Still the shooting is an issue, but like he can defend and he can pass. Strong, athletic. Generally we need guys like that. It's tough. Like ideally we're looking for our fourth best player, right? Like,
well, how do you mean?
So what I'm going to say is Wiggins our fourth best player going into this season?
Yes.
Yes. Ideally, we'd like to slot a guy in between Klay, Draymond, and Wiggins. Now, these four guys are not that guy. So just to be clear.
I'm sorry. When you said player, I thought you meant scorer. No, you're right. Player, no. Draymond's definitely number 3. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is there's kind of multiple directions. And like, so the MLE guys, these are guys you can just add to the end of the bench, or not even the end of the bench. Like these are like your 6th, 7th guy, 8th guy. The bigger problem, and maybe I think Marc Gasol might be out there, or is he going to Spain or something like that? Like there's some, not sure what's going on with that. So like in terms of bigs, I guess the issue is like, how can we upgrade that 4th best player? And does it involve trading Wiggins or not?
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, if we go into the season with those 4 guys, it's hard. We're not going to find a superstar 5th guy without trading Wiggins or drafting a superstar, right? So I've heard the same trades you guys have heard probably. Like, is Miles Turner a possibility? Drew Holiday, Aaron Gordon. There was a Vucevic trade out there today that I saw.
Oh, no. Forget what that was.
Yeah, so
bad ones.
Like I said earlier, to me, Marcus Smart. I don't know if they would want to trade him, and probably not. But that kind of player where he's making $12 million or something like that, you could actually get him on the TPE, I think, by trading the pick. So you're just adding a player, But it doesn't look to me like there are a ton of those types of deals out there.
Well, I guess part of the question here is how close do you think the Dubs, as currently constituted, obviously they don't have a full roster, but in terms of the pieces they have a bunch of the guys they're going to be relying on. You got Steph, Klay, and Dre, 3 all-stars there, and Wiggins, who, 20 points in his sleep. The length that you referred to before, he's got it. Athleticism for days. So you're hoping that, this is the place where he can flourish. When you look at those 4 guys there, are you already saying like, oh yeah, I've seen the bubble. The West doesn't scare me besides the Lakers, maybe the Clippers, probably not. Shoot, they also the Denver. So is that a thing where you're saying like, hey, we don't have to swing for the fences here? Or are you saying swing for the fences?
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, swing for the fences if that's an option. I guess Giannis is the swing for the fences.
Right.
Okay, so who would, the question is, is it out there? What would we have to give up? If you're giving up Klay So if you're giving up Wiggins and 2 draft picks, yes, it's like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
If you're giving up Klay and 2 draft picks, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot.
Very much so. When he comes back and drops 70 on us.
Yeah. So I really have to think about it. Like it sounds like, on the face of it, it makes sense. I just don't think the Warriors will trade Klay like that, like even in that deal. And our bench would be so shallow, basically. So even if we do that, like, I'm not sure that that's enough. But maybe it is. Maybe it is. The Lakers aren't that deep. I mean, they had a lot of guys who just stepped up, right? Like Rondo, KCP. They're not, Markieff Morris. Like, these guys are not all-stars anymore or ever. So
Caruso,
yeah, these are good. Like, he's a good player, but yeah, I don't know. Like, it's not the bench of an Iguodala, Livingston, like we've had.
Right.
Right.
Which is going to be pretty much impossible to replicate. Like, those are both all-world talents that we got, luckily. And, Golden State is still pretty cool, but, we may not be the hot ticket item around right now. I don't know that people are clamoring to play here necessarily. So pulling some of those guys like KCP, who just got a championship with the Lakers, I don't know how willing he is to jump ship.
I also wonder about COVID, obviously. And when we say that a guy is coming here, what does it even mean, right, with COVID? Like, are they going to be playing here next season? Are they going to all be in a bubble again? Like, we don't even know.
We don't know.
Are they going to pick a few stadiums? Like, so, part of the draw of coming to the Warriors is you're coming to the Bay Area. But, like, I don't know, maybe they're all going to the bubble. Or maybe during COVID, nobody even cares about that,
Right.
So that's obviously a question for the short term.
Wow, that's a great point. You kind of briefly touched on Pascal's Rascals. How do you feel about the current crop of Warriors youngsters? And obviously, I still include Loon in there as WWs as well. And also, think about the young man, Jordan Poole. So how do you feel about our young guys?
So let me start with Looney. I always like Looney. Well, I don't know if I always like Looney, but like the last few years, I've definitely liked Looney. If he's healthy, I love him. Like, he's a valuable player. I still wish he would shoot more at some point, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. He can add a lot of value, right? Like to this team. I like Chris. Actually, like, I think he was kind of a find last year, Marquise Chris, right? Like.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't know about him, like, I knew he was athletic. I didn't know he could pass, and like, he actually can really pass, and the Warriors love that. So I don't think he's, like, maybe he's not a deep playoff type of player, but regular season, like, I think he's pretty useful, actually, and super young. Like, I think he's maybe a year older than Obi Toppin.
Old Obi.
Amazing. He's like basically the same age as Pascal too. So so regarding Poole and Pascal, I have to say I was not a huge fan of either of those picks. The Pascal pick was okay. It was later. Poole in the first round, I just wasn't a fan. Like, I had him like rated like a mid-second rounder or later. I just thought they reached for Poole. So I was disappointed that like I wasn't surprised that he was bad, but he was like a lot worse than I thought. I didn't have him low because I thought he'd just be like a terrible shooter. Like, I thought he could shoot, but yeah, he couldn't even shoot. So, I'm hoping for the best. Like, his shooting needs to come around. He's not a terrible point guard. Like, if he can, he can actually handle the ball and pass pretty well. He just needs to shoot. Like, he really needs to shoot.
He's also going to have to. I'm sorry. I was going to say he's also going to have to outplay Courtney Lee, who really blew up at the end of the season when they switched him to primary ball handling duties.
Damian Lee.
Right. What did I say?
Courtney.
This man doesn't watch Warriors basketball.
But some of those guys I like Mulder. He can shoot.
And his defense was okay.
Yeah, I don't know about Toscano Anderson. I kind of like his motor personality, but
I love him, baby. Town business all day. Represent Oakland. Let's go.
Exactly.
Realistically. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say the Warriors have a lot of pretty severe problems at the wings that they're going to need to resolve. And
do they?
Yes, Daniel.
They have
look
Andrew
at our defensive
Wiggins.
numbers. We're going to get Steph Curry back, and we'll get Klay Thompson back. But when you look at the Warriors' defensive numbers from last season, it's really, really bad. It was bad all year. He is, but he's coming off a knee surgery. And, again, we don't have the Iguodala, the KD, the David West. There's more structural holes in our Swiss cheese now.
But you said the wings, and you have Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins, who are wings. And we know Klay is an elite defender off an injury, and Wiggins, we'll see what he can do. I mean, I feel like for you to say we have a huge hole at the wings, we have a huge hole at the 5. That's a huge hole. The wings, I'm pretty sure in today's modern NBA, you can get away with Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins as your 3 and your 2.
It's hard to say, right? There's different teams, there's different matchups.
Who was the wings for the Lakers? You had LeBron with the point, and then who was the
you had Caruso, KCP.
Okay.
So they ended up going big because they could have Markieff Morris as a big wing.
They just won a championship with those guys.
But they have LeBron and AD, right?
We have Steph Curry.
Yeah, no. I mean, we all love Steph, right? But that matchup could be tough, right? It's those guys are athletic, and I think a lot rides on Wiggins. I would say my prediction is sort of I feel like the way they're currently constructed, maybe a 48 win team is 50 is sort of
is
where
only going to be 65 games next year.
Oh yeah. So prorate it for whatever, however many games.
They're not going 48 and 17. What?
If it was an 82 game season, right? So roughly that, and that's with Wiggins being Wiggins, just the Wiggins we know. So there's upside, obviously, right? If he's somehow a new guy who just defends and shoots open threes, and doesn't. He loves the spinning, drive to the rim.
That's his move.
That's his move. Either he perfects it or he doesn't do it. But there's room for upside, right? Let's say Wiggins is just amazing and we don't do anything else. Maybe that's a 52 win team. And then the playoffs are, to me, it's hard. It's so hard to predict that far in advance. Who are we just assuming that we're trying to beat the Lakers? And if you do that, does that hurt your chances against whatever the Rockets have or whatever the Clippers have next year? You know what I'm saying? How do you choose?
I'm not worried about the Rockets.
The Rockets?
Well,
what?
Morey always does something. I'm not going to count out the Rockets being, something at some point. He'll pull something off to do something big. I'm telling you.
How skeptical Daniel is right now.
The Rockets. I wish you in every other team. Denver, Clippers, LA. But the Rockets.
What I'm just saying that you don't know, it's if you decide that we need to beat AD, right? Mm-hmm. That may drive your team in a different direction. Even the draft. If we're trying to beat AD, should we draft Wiseman?
Well, Patrick Murray made the statement that he's seen Draymond Green lock up Anthony Davis in repeated playoffs. So do you already have your AD guy right there?
I love Draymond, but AD Draymond is what, 31?
Mm-hmm.
Coming off he's always having injuries, right?
There's something up with his arms.
Maybe that's what's going to be so that's a question, right? Like if your plan is okay, when we eventually go against the Lakers, they're gonna go with AD at the 5, and we're just gonna counter with Draymond, right? Mm-hmm. I guess that could work. But
you seem a little skeptical of the former Defensive Player of the Year. You think he's worn down?
I just think that we had success with it in the past, but we also and we did go up against AD, but we went up against LeBron and Tristan Thompson.
Who was a problem?
But
a problem.
But LeBron and AD, like we went up against Kawhi and Siakam and or Kawhi and Marc Gasol. AD he's another he's another level of dude. I mean, now he's shooting threes better than he has been. It's going to be tough. And Draymond, one thing we don't talk about a lot anymore is that Draymond's not shooting anymore. Like, he's just not shooting threes. So there was a couple seasons where you were like, yeah, at least you're getting something. But if he's not shooting, then that's going to affect who you put at the 5. And then if you put at the 5, can he go up against Jokic? Right? Like,
yes, he can.
It's I'm a little bit skeptical of that.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, but I would like him to do it.
Yeah, because then you have Murray and you have other guys. Like, they have a huge team, right? Porter. It's just gonna be hard to defend all those guys.
I agree. Yeah,
they're gonna have to keep up with Draymond on the cuts. That's the flip side of that.
I agree. Like, we do miss Iguodala. Like, there's just no question we miss
so much.
Livingston, yeah, but like Iguodala was he was just a huge part of that team.
Well, and as a foil to LeBron too, I mean, I don't know what Klay and Wiggins can do next to each other, but Iguodala as a LeBron specialist came in real handy in the finals.
Right. I think Wiggins is, maybe a bit underrated. Like, he showed that he can defend when he is, into it. Like, when he focuses on it, he's athletic as hell, and he's super long. Like, my hope is he could be a 4, like a 3-4.
Right.
I don't think he's going to bring it every night, but maybe if you're in a tough playoff series, like, he gets it going, and he's going to have to, right? There's no way around it.
Well, and Wiggins' metrics were up across the board, and I mean, it wasn't a super long stint. I can't remember exactly how many games it was, but it was a pretty significant uptick in a lot of his defensive metrics.
Right.
Off like cleaning the glass or whatever.
I think where you give up with Wiggins too is, like, obviously he's not a great shooter. He's probably a little bit worse than Barnes, I guess, in terms of shooting. And the passing isn't, it's never been a great passer. Although he did have some crazy, he had a 10 assist game or something. So I don't know if that was just like a once in a career sort of outlier or
environment matters. Environment.
Yeah. So if you get something like that from him, that's going to be all the difference, I think. Right.
Yeah, I'm really pulling for Wiggins. I especially liked what I saw from him in his first game with the Warriors against the Lakers when the team was pretty much depleted, and he actually had a pretty stellar outing against LeBron and Wiggins, LeBron and AD, and was very, very physical and imposed his will a lot. And then also the game against the Toronto Raptors, it was amazing how athletic he was compared to Siakam. It was like, wait, Wiggins can jump with anybody or run with anybody. Mm-hmm. So it's like having that athleticism, something we sorely missed when Kevin Durant went down the year before. And so to see Wiggins able to generate that, it was like, okay, when you have all-world shooters, like literally the 2 greatest shooters in the history of the game around him, as opposed to Big Cat and Jeff Teague, and you also have Draymond Green, who's kind of the new era point forward or point center, I would say. He's never had a better chance to succeed. So that's where I start getting nervous. Like, okay, you got to draft for need. Now, the minute I say that, W-Dub-Dubs and Patrick are like, whoa. You always get the best available player. You never draft for the roster hole. You get the best available player. So when you say
you don't.
LaMelo, when you say Anthony Edwards, it's like, do you just build a super amazing small team?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's tough, right? Like if they decide that they need this big to defend the Jokic and the Wiseman, or not the Wiseman. I was getting ahead of myself.
Defend Wiseman, baby.
The Jokic
Stop him.
and the ADs, of the world, and the Embiids or whatever it is, even the Steven Adams, those kind of bigs. There's some guys like you can get like Pachulia that can do that during the regular season, I think, right? I don't know who that guy is that's out there that they can get as a free agent. I'm skeptical in the playoffs against those teams that we would just end up going small anyway. Like in it,
Right.
In the draft, if we go for a big, I don't think Obi is that guy. Really, he's not.
Right.
I don't think he's the great rebounder, rim protector guy. To me, it's more Okongwu or Wiseman. And would they be good right away? Like that's the question.
I know that back in the day, Warriors fans had huge fetishes for DeAndre Jordan and Dwight Howard. Okay, nowadays Dwight Howard rejuvenated. He's back, baby. Is that a guy you would look at
as a free agent?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't play in the last right. Like he didn't play in the last game. So, like, no, I don't.
I would. I mean, if you're looking at someone to fix your problem of not having a big guy
for the regular season and maybe like early playoff rounds, and you don't want to drain Draymond. You want Draymond playing the 5 all the time. Maybe Chris can't handle it, but Looney is there too. Like, so if Looney's healthy, he can. I think Looney is the guy who would play more than Chris. And he can defend against most bigs. I mean, that's the thing these days. Most bigs are not AD, right? They're just kind of out there. They're not scoring. I mean, we welcome them, right, to go in the post and try to score. So, like, unless it's Embiid or, is it like a couple of Jokic. So there are like a few guys like that. So that's really the question is, like, do you have a guy who is your sort of guy for everybody else? And then there's still this need that you absolutely need. Do you get it in the draft or through free agency? I don't see the free agent out there that is that guy. So like he's kind of the versatile 5. The question is, does that guy, it's sort of like, did Bam do a good enough job on AD? Maybe not. Would a guy like what do you need to go against AD? Would Wiseman be that guy? Maybe. But I don't know. It's
not right away, anyways.
I thought it was interesting when the Heat had some of their best success against the Lakers. It was when Bam was injured, or when Kelly Olynyk was on the floor, so Jimmy could just attack, and he had 4 shooters around him. So that's where it's strange. Like, okay, was Kelly stopping AD? Not at all. But he was spacing the floor so much that kind of negated because we're trading 2s for 3s. So I think it goes back to what some other people are saying. Like, hey, the Warriors method has always been hit 3s, run to death. Don't go away from the formula. So it's a very interesting conundrum.
And that's also why I think if you go with Melo or Edwards, neither is a great shooter, but Edwards can create his own shot. Like both of them can. But I could see Edwards. He's. I'm not trying to say he's Tyler Hero. Not at all. But maybe he could have an impact as a guy who can create his own shot in a way that basically no other Warrior can, right? Except Pascal is the only other guy who's kind of a self-creator. Wiggins can, but it's pretty bad. Like
spin move.
Yes, spin move.
NBA 2K9.
Right. So that's kind of the thing we're missing. The Lakers didn't really need that as much because they had, 2 Hall of Fame huge guys who can basically take shots whenever they want. And we don't have that, but yeah, so it's hard. Like, I don't know. I think if it was me, I'd probably try to trade down and see if there's good value. Pick someone like Devin Vassell, Patrick Williams, like other big wings. Josh Green's another guy. So there's a few other big wings that I think are pretty interesting. Or Okongwu or Wiseman if you trade down. But if they stay at the 2, I just think in the long run, you're probably better off taking the guy who you think is the most talented. Maybe you think it's Obi, which is fine to rationalize that way. I just don't. That's not who I would pick.
Right.
Who's your favorite Warriors big man over the last 20 years?
Biedrins, no.
Nice. Yes.
My favorite big, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I guess well, are we counting Draymond as a big or no?
Nah. I mean, I love him to death, but he's not big.
So, yeah, I mean, I was a huge Bogut fan, like I was always a fan of Bogut. And I guess it would have to be Bogut. I like Pachulia too, but I mean, I don't know, probably Bogut. Bogut because of the passing, like when a big guy can pass, that's always awesome, I think.
Well, his defense was so good.
Yeah.
He basically trained Draymond.
Yeah, I mean, if he was in his prime now, that's like he would be that guy that it'd be awesome. The only issue was the shooting. So then you have Draymond and this guy. So like I said,
right,
it's going to be tough because you gotta take into account that Draymond is not shooting. So
especially if you're assuming that Looney is the other guy out there with Draymond during important times.
So it's just tough when you have 2 or 3 non-shooters out there.
Either way, I know that when the draft does happen, a lot of the nations going to be split. They're going to be freaking out like, no, this team, the dynasty's ruined. I was going to be like, finally, 74 wins coming up. So I can't wait for that. I think we have harassed you and interrogated. Oh, no, we have not interrogated Evan enough. WW has a cauldron of fiery questions for you. Now, each question is going to give you, don't think about it, give your first answer as soon as it comes to your head. And be warned, you might go viral for this. Watch out.
That's not true. These are easy.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
But he's right, though. Don't think about it. Just first answer is the right answer. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, you look ready. Dogs or cats?
Dogs or cats?
Mm-hmm.
Dogs.
Okay. What activity are you sneaky good at?
Oh, God. Drinking.
My man. Pineapples on pizza?
Yes.
Same. It's good. What's the scariest kids movie?
Oh, God. Poltergeist? Is that
that's a kids movie?
There are kids in it?
Okay.
That's a tough. I don't even know what is a scary kids movie.
Stranger Things.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, the Snow White scene, the old one where there's all the thunder and the weird witch lady gets killed.
Yeah.
Dark Crystal has the
I got it. It. I think a scary kids movie is like The Never-Ending Story.
Dude, it's hella scary.
Okay.
Scary
this
moment.
Is what we're looking for. You're really succeeding these quick hit questions.
Also another one from that era is Watership Down, the cartoon with the rabbits.
Right. That whole story is so messed up.
You got it, Daniel. Have you seen it, Watership Down?
No.
Oh yeah, you got to cue it up.
I'll do it tonight.
Watership Down and The Last Unicorn are the two 80s cartoon, adult sort of animated cartoons that stick in my head forever.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Okay, good. I'm glad we talked through this. At first, Poltergeist answer wasn't that great.
Space Jam.
I will watch Space Jam. Yeah, I will definitely watch.
All right, just 2 more. Okay, which cheese is the best?
Brie.
Okay.
Oh, you're fancy. Okay, classic man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this one might require a little bit of thought. Okay, who wins in a fight between Spider-Man and Elsa from Frozen? Full powers, both very mad at each other, no mercy. Who you got?
I think Spider-Man. I'm always gonna go with Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't know. She got the ice powers though. How's he gonna get closer?
Spider-Man's beat people with ice. I think. Yeah. Ice is like the worst superpower.
Why is ice the worst superpower?
It's just like a default like lame superpower. It's like Aquaman, like the water.
I keep waiting for him to, like, you know, your body's like, you know, 2/3 water, and like kill someone with that. I keep waiting for that.
Well, it's easy to beat, and like fire also is pretty bad. Like they're just like the elements are pretty easy to freeze or to heat, you know, like that.
Yeah. Wow, we got some real slander for Frozen right now. Okay, didn't expect that.